Hello everyone, welcome back. I am going to create a double page scrapbook layout for you today featuring the Cape Cod collection from close to my heart. I'm really excited about this one. If you caught my catalog walkthrough video, you already saw this, but I love it. It's ocean inspired and Cape Cod is the perfect name for it. But let me show you these really quick. You can see it's just all of these beach icons and I think it's so pretty. I love the little distressing in the background. The opposite side is this paper here. It says happiness comes in waves, and I love the little wave pattern in the words. I thought that was really fun. Wood grain, I can never get enough wood grain. The opposite side are these palm leaves, and then we have a really nice stripe that brings in all of the colors and this anchor pattern, and I love that the patterns are scaled to where you can use them on cards or scrapbook layouts. They would go either way, which is always really nice. Here is the coordinating sticker sheet. So we've got some journaling spots, tons of word sentiment stickers, and then sand under my feet, wind in my hair, salt on my skin, wild and free, just like the sea, sun and sea, and then some happy place and beach babe. Lots of fun, stickers on here to use. Isn't that sand dollar beautiful? I love that one. Now I did get the workshop collection because I loved all the bonus pieces and papers. These are 2 bonus pattern papers that come along with the workshop. So you get 2 of the blue ones, and then there is a little striped one here. There's also all of these die cuts in here. So there's some big titles. I'll show you the layouts, but we've got some things you just pop these out. So lots of little banners, circles, tags, arrows. And then there's more of it. I know they don't look like much when you see them like this on the sheets, but you'll see they'll make sense when you see the layouts. So there's some circles, and then all of the cardstock that you would need to create these pre-designed layouts. So you've got Lagoon, Periwinkle, and a couple sheets of White Daisy. You also get a little sampling of the chipboard and acrylic shapes. Now this comes with the workshop. I also went ahead and got the full kit because I love them. So you get a whole sheet of titles and little just paperboard shapes, and it says beach life. There's some coral in there. These are really pretty. So they're in kind of the white and toffee color. But look at this little like piece of coral. Isn't that cool? Look at it on the white. You can really see the detail there. And then the chipboard, or not chipboard, the acrylic shapes. They have this little frosted look to them. Like there's the shell, and I love that they have like little cutout detailing in the center. So pretty. So these are separate, and the smaller pack comes with the collection. Before we get started, I'll show you this layout workshop here with the 3 different layouts. So everything you need to create these 3 double page layouts is all included in this kit. You can see how they use those big titles there. Let's go, wild and free. There's the sticker, wild and free, just like the sea. And you can see where they've used all of those circle elements, layering them on this one, which looks really nice. And I love this layout. And there's that bonus pattern paper in the background. So you can put those together exactly. It tells you just how to cut them, and it really takes the guesswork out of scrapbooking, and you can put those together in no time. If you don't have your photos, let me grab these. They do include the photo place card holders in case maybe you want to put these together and then add your photos later. So those are nice, and I always save these and use them for other projects too. Let me move these out of the way and I'll show you my photos. I have a whole bunch of photos that I've printed at home with the white border. So this is my mom, and we went for an overnight little weekend getaway to Half Moon Bay, and we got up really early. We wanted to catch low tide, so we went for a walk on the beach, and it was gorgeous, and we had the place to ourselves. So we wanted some nice photos, so we took some up on the bluffs overlooking the ocean. And since it was low tide, we saw some really cool sea life. I've printed these to 3x3. Isn't that that anemone gorgeous? So cool. And then there is a sea urchin. Now this one I actually took a screenshot from a video. I sat and filmed this little guy crawling around and his little tentacles were waving in the water, and it was just really peaceful to watch. And I just love the contrast of the colors. Tide pools are beautiful and they're so full of life. And then this one, you know, there's hermit crabs, little tiny crabs everywhere. So that's a little close up of those guys cruising around doing their thing. And then this is part of the hike. So you can go down on the beach, and then there's like this loop that goes up through the forest and has some incredible views. So there's my mom coming down this very long flight of stairs to the beach. Couple shots of us on the beach, and then one up again on the bluffs overlooking the ocean there. So these smaller photos here are 3x4. That does include the white border, and then 3x3, and then these are odd sized. I will double check and let you know as we put this together. I'll get my Versamat out and double check. So let me just set these aside and bring in my Versamats here. As I mentioned, this is going to be a double page layout, so I'll bring in both of these. I think I am going to start this layout on a base of white daisy cardstock there. I have some photo tips for you when you are designing your layout. So I did create a sketch for this over in Cricut Design Space, and that helps me know what size to print my photos. I do all my printing at home. I use an Epson PictureMate 400, and I use the Print to Size app. And I do have a video showing exactly how I use that app. Heads up, it is only iPhone compatible. It doesn't work for Androids. In that video, I did think that there was an Android version, but I misspoke, so just disregard that. It turned out to be a scam. There's just bad people in this world. But I want to point out a few things that I did in editing my photos that I think make a difference in the overall design of the layout. So first of all, I'm going to show you where I am placing these. And, you know, what I like to do is count how many photos I have, decide, you know, can they be a square? Are they portrait? Are they horizontal? Which ones are my favorite? Because I make those bigger because they're kind of the focal point. So those are some things I consider when designing my layouts, because it is all about the photos after all, right? Now in the Print to Size app, these two photos here were identical. One's my mom and one is myself, but we were standing in the same spot, both looking from the left to the right. Now these photos are so similar, and this one was very different, and it has this nice leading line with the staircase going up. So I thought that that would look very balanced in the center, but I didn't want, the same, I have this thing where I like my subjects looking into the layout. So all I did was use the mirror function in the Print to Size app and flip that photo. So now I'm looking in, and I also cropped it just a little bit so that the line in the background of where the ocean meets the sky was on the same plane. One more thing I want to point out, if you are looking at these two photos, my mom is a little bit closer forward. It's zoomed in on her, so that kind of put the ocean and the sky in a different location. And what I'm going to do is actually overlap these a little bit and line up the horizon line in the background. And not only is this just kind of fun when you have, sometimes it's fun to stagger your photos or just kind of vary them up and down just to give a little character to your layout. But just that little detail of having that line on the same plane in the background, it's not the end of the world. If you did that like that, it would still be a wonderful layout. But I do like to consider these small little details when designing, because I think in the grand scheme of things, it really adds to the overall feel of the finished layout. It was really difficult to narrow down what papers I want to use because they're all really, really gorgeous, and they all would work so well. I do think I want to do a 4-inch strip across the bottom of the wood grain, and then I want to kind of highlight these photos here. So I'm going to do something of this nature here where I have a strip going top to bottom. So it needs to be at least 4 inches wide to accommodate those 3-inch photos. And then I have room for my title here. I generally put my title on the left. I just kind of like that idea. And then we can use another strip over here. So let's start with that first. Okay, so I've trimmed these both to 4x12. We're going to run this one on the bottom. And then I'm going to run this one in a column. And as I mentioned, that is going to really showcase these photos. Now, since we have a busier pattern in the back, I do want to mat those on cardstock to give them a little bit more pop against that background. And I'm thinking, do I want white space, or do I want to bring in some pattern paper in behind these photos? So this is where it's just kind of trial and error. And I often focus on the left side, and then I will kind of bring in the papers on the right side to complement it. So let's see. Oops, I'm going to go like this. And that could work. That's an idea. Let's try some of the others. Rather than watching me rearrange those a million times, I just paused the camera. Here is another option, and I do really like that one. That's the bonus pattern paper, but there's one more I want to try. So here it is with the anchor option, and I do like that as well. Any one of them would work, but I think I like this one the best. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that down. Often what I like to do is take those offcuts from these pieces and just see if it's going to work on this side of the layout. So we could use this whole piece of the stripe pattern, and then this little piece of wood grain that I chopped off of that corner would naturally fit over here on this side. So that is always something you can do. I'm not 100% sure, but let's go with it for now. So anytime I have photos that are going over pattern paper, different transitions, I like to kind of mat them on cardstock and tie them all together. And I'm thinking I want to bring Toffee into this layout. There's Toffee, of course, in this paper and then in the stripe pattern as well. This will just help this stand out against the busy background there. Kind of give these photos more of a place to jump out at you from. So that is already looking better. And then I cut little square photo mats for these little guys over here. So I'll go ahead and just get everything dry fit for now. And I am using the lighter side of Toffee. It just has this really nice kind of a sand look to it. So just like so. I have tons of title options I could work with. So this sun and sea would totally fit there, and that would look really nice. But I also have this one. These little paperboard pieces, this says beach, and it's all one piece, which is really nice. And then this says life. So we've got beach life, and you can use it just like this. You have the white layer, or you can add the outline too. So you have these little layering pieces. Gives it a unique look, and I do like that. So I think I'm going to go with, oops, is that guy upside down? It's like a puzzle here. Yeah, so this is looking good. I do like this little layer here, and I might add some inking to the edges also. So now I have room for a big embellishment cluster up here, a little something down here. I've got plenty of room to add some journaling, and then we can even do maybe a little something above the photos over here. But I think that the base is really good. I am going to just do one of these on camera, and then I'll pause it and do the rest off camera. But I just want to take my little sponge dauber tool and darken up the edges of all of these Toffee pieces. It's just going to make them look so much better. And I know that's kind of boring, so I will not make you watch that whole process. But yeah, super quick and easy. You can add as much color. You could even go with a darker brown if you wanted to do that. I thought about maybe even using mocha, but I think that this will look nice. So just this nice little, it's probably not real obvious on camera, but I do think that that makes a lovely difference. I have all of my pieces inked up and the main base layers are adhered down. Now I do, as I mentioned, want to create a big embellishment cluster up here. There's lots of fun things to use. There's this little wooden sign that says the beach is calling, and it's so cute, so I definitely want to use this. There is a digital collection, and you could cut this out too with the SVGs and use that. I can think of so many fun ways to use this little sign. So to get this to stand out more, I like to kind of put something, tags or like a circle, and I want to bring over this blue. So originally I was going to cut a circle, but then I spotted this in the extra die cut pieces, and it's that same periwinkle, and it has those pretty little shells on there. So I thought that is going to work perfectly. So we can just set that right behind there, and that is one of the reasons why I love the workshops. They give you all of these fun pieces to create with, and it just makes it so quick and easy. So I definitely want to use this sign, and I'm thinking kind of maybe right here, and I'm going to back these with white so that you can read the letters better, and that way they'll pop out just a little bit more. The beach is, and it's fun to kind of stagger these, the beach is calling. Yes, it is. I always keep a bin of scrap white daisy paper, perfect for little applications like this. So there is no lead in that pencil. We'll try this one. I'm tracing the outside of this sign, and then I will use my microtip scissors to cut just inside of my tracing line, and that way it'll fit back behind that perfectly. So you don't have to be really careful. I'm kind of moving pretty quickly, just going inside the little line here, and then we will line this up. And it's kind of not quite perfect. I think I was a little bit hasty there, so we'll just snip the tail off. And you can see how much easier that is to read, and it really makes that pop. I have my Salvaged Patina Distress Oxide ink, and I'm thinking of adding a little bit of color behind the title just to brighten that up a little bit. And anytime you use a colored cardstock, it is going to look a little bit different. So this is a scrap of almond paper, and I'm also going to use that to kind of blot it off first so it's not so intense on my layout. So I'm just inking it up, blotting it, and then creating this little like circular halo of color to kind of highlight the beginning of my title. So you could, add as much or as little as you want. And I love that we can still appreciate the wood grain paper. It is allowing that detail of the paper to show through. Let me scoot these back into place. Doesn't that look nice with the little pop of color back there? I did use liquid glue to adhere the outline layer to the white base layer of those letters also. Now we're ready for the fun embellishing process, and I have lots of things to work with. So these are the paperboard shapes, and I definitely want to use these little bits of coral. I think it is just so pretty and adds so much texture, but lots of fun things to use. Little fences, palm trees, anchors, seagulls, in both the white and the craft color. I also have the little acrylic embellishments here, which add a fun texture. And then I have a couple stamp sets. I have Cape Cod card making workshop. So this is an exclusive stamp for the card making, but I bought it. The cards are fabulous. I made a couple on my own, but these are dies, and not only do they die cut the image out, but they have these little detail lines, and then you get this fun stamp set with it as well. So let me actually show you these. I have a whole bunch cut out because I was making a lot of cards, and let me show you on the cards. I shared these in my catalog walkthrough, but do you see the detail on there? They're just so neat. I added a little inking around the edge and then a little Stickles glitter gel just to give those that shine, but they look really cool. And then here they are without any of the Stickles, just a little inking on the edge there. So many fun things you can do with them. But yeah, I definitely am going to be using those quite a bit. And I also have the Cape Cod scrapbooking stamp, and these stamps have like built-in texture. You'll see what I mean when we stamp them here, but there's some really neat titles: swimming in the sea, playing in the sand, soaking up the sun. I thought that this was a great one for just beach life in general. But let's go ahead and stamp some of these images so you can see what those look like. Let me just clear this out of the way, make some room. The Versamat's handy for that too. I have a small workspace, so I love that I can just pick things up and move them around. I have a piece of scrap white daisy, and I'm going to pick this little coral stamp up with my block and bring in some of this gorgeous lagoon color. So as I mentioned, these have built-in texture to them. So I'm going to stamp a couple of these, and you'll see, let me hold this up for you. See all the shading in there? Let's go ahead and stamp a seahorse also. And whatever I don't use, I just kind of like to stamp a bunch. If I don't use them, I can use them later on cards. And I did get the coordinating dies. They come on their own magnetic sheet, so I can go ahead and get these die cut out. I had already stamped this little crab in the bluebird color, and I just wanted to show this to you. I really appreciate having the dies for this set because see all the inner spaces the die cuts out? That would be very difficult to fussy cut, so I just love that attention to detail. And isn't the shading on that image so neat? I really love it. Here are all my little custom ephemera bits from the stamp set. We can move this back into place, and I think that, well, I know I want to create a little cluster right here, kind of finishing off that title area. And I'm just thumbing through some of the die cut shapes that I've already used. And to add a little bit of interest to these shapes, I'm going to sand them and allow that white core to show through. There's so many fun things you can do with these. You can splatter them, you can sand them, you can ink them up. This little shell cut in periwinkle, I am going to use the coordinating periwinkle ink and then just darken up the edges. And stay tuned to the very end because I'm going to add another little treatment that is really going to step these up. This is the inner portion of that shell. I wanted that darker, so I inked it up and I'm using my pickup tool to put that into place. I want to create another embellishment cluster up top and bring in more of the Lagoon color. So I'm going to repeat the little pops of Lagoon all throughout the layout. This is a little sticker from the sticker sheet here, and I thought that that would look nice right up top. I really like these little palm leaves. Let's try that. I think I'm going to save that for my tropical photos I have. Let's try the little sea star. I want to bring in some of the white embellishments. And I think I'm going to move that coral for now. Let's try this guy up there. I know there were some really cool seagulls in here too in the paperboard shapes. I've got this great space up here like the sky, and I thought, you know, anytime you go to the beach, there's seagulls swarming all around, so I thought that would look really neat. Ooh, I do like that. I'm going to go ahead and use some liquid glue to get these adhered down because I know I want my title in this area, so I can go ahead and commit. There's nothing worse than like dry fitting your entire layout and then having to take it apart and rebuild it. So I try to go in stages, and I do a lot of dry fitting, and then, you know, I may adhere all the papers and pictures and then just kind of go in little steps. So when I get to the end, it's not this huge process. I've got my T-square ruler here. This is so handy. It is long enough to span the width of your layout. And when you're working on a Versamat, it kind of clips onto the edge there, and you can get a really nice straight line for adhering titles. Often with embellishing, it's just kind of trying the bits and pieces you have in different areas and just seeing what speaks to you. I do want to create kind of an L-shaped cluster, and I don't want the Lagoon seahorse against the Lagoon coral, so I'm going to skip the coral for now and bring in more of these little die cut shells from the card making workshop and just kind of layer them up using different colors. We've got the periwinkle. This is one of the paperboard shapes. I do want to use this super cute little fence, and then I have a little seagull sticker, and actually I'm going to fussy cut this out so I can kind of make him look like he's perched on the fence here, and yeah, that's pretty cute. I want to bring some Lagoon up to this area, but I don't like the circle against the circle. Let's try Lagoon Sea Star and see how that looks. Then we'll move this Sea Star down here. Ooh, that gives us a little bit of white in each section, and then we could put this shell, this is the paperboard shell, over here. Perfect. That's going to work out great. I went ahead and printed my journaling on vellum because I wanted to include it down here, and I could have done strip journaling, but I thought that this would allow the background paper to show through, but then you could still easily read the journaling. If I had done this on clear sticker paper, I think that the background would have been a little too busy and it'd have been harder to read, so the vellum just kind of tones it down just a little bit. Now, I did some experimenting. If you've ever printed on vellum, you know that it can smear and bleed very easily. So I tried all sorts of different settings, did a little research, and you want to use the least amount of ink as possible. So setting your printer to best quality would be counterproductive. You actually want like a normal or even a draft quality. And I tried it on the premium, photo paper setting and, best, and it just bled and smeared everywhere. And then we went with plain paper and draft quality, and that was the most legible, least amount of bleeding. And then once you've printed it, just allow that to dry and you should be good to go. I am going to tear this across the bottom. I always think that's a fun look when you're working with vellum, and we'll just go right across the edge here. And then I need to trim off just a little bit of the side so I don't have to work at tucking that all the way under. Actually, let me just kind of eyeball that. Yeah, right about there. and then I don't have so much to work underneath that paper. I'm just kind of loosening that with my Cricut spatula, lining it up, making sure I'm happy, and then I can take a little bit of liquid glue with this super fine tip nozzle. It works so well. You can squeeze it up underneath there. Adhesive tends to show through vellum, so just by attaching it underneath the photos, that will keep it in place and you won't see a thing. Off camera, I took the Waterfall Stickles glitter gel and then also the Solar Flare glitter gel. These are both by Ranger. It's like this cute little pot of sparkly goodness. Love this stuff, so fun. And what I did, the cards I showed you earlier, I didn't point out that I have the sparkly area on the bottom, and that is a Solar Flare Stickles gel in that cute little pot. It just looks like just shiny sand, like they washed up on the seashore. It even has little stars in it. Can you see them there? I just think it's such a pretty little detail. I took a palette knife and just put it on the very tip, and on the cards I created it or added it to the shells and let them dry before adding it to my project, but it was an afterthought here. But it was really easy. I didn't, to go ahead and put it on. I didn't get it anywhere else, and I even added it to the bottom of the word beach there, and it's on the little seashell, and then you can see the Waterfall Stickles little drops that I added just around the embellishment clusters. And again down there, so sparkly and pretty. And then over here I just added a few, and then some of the Solar Flare to the sea star here and down here. And then I added one more word sticker from the sticker sheet as well. If you enjoyed this video and found my tips helpful, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. It does help me out quite a bit here on YouTube. And then everything I use to create this layout will be in the description box below, so you can check that out there. Thank you so much for watching, and hit that subscribe button for more inspiration coming very soon. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Bye.